Hello friends and welcome back. I hope you're all doing well by God's grace. If you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for your support. Let's start. The courtroom was electric with emotion. A venue of whispers, a burst of cameras, and open family scars. The back rows were filled with reporters, pens at the ready, and lenses trained as fans of sister wives hung on every gesture, every breath, every tear. On the plaintiff's side of the table stood Kody Brown, the former proud father of a plural family, reduced to shreds. His trademark curls were tied back tightly, but his face was a tempest, bitterness, betrayal, and desperation, all rolled into one. "This isn't just about a divorce," he yelled, pounding his hand on the table. "She didn't just leave. She stole from us our land, our future, and my daughter." He spun around, pointing a finger across the courtroom at Christine Brown, the woman who had been steadfastly by his side for 25 years. Now she was in the defendant's seat. Christine didn't budge. She sat upright, her expression a stoic storm of power and pain. Her face was framed by a simple olive blouse and black pants, the weariness of having felt invisible for so long etched upon it. But the determination of a woman who had at last spoken. Enough. Her attorney, Angela Reeve, bent forward and whispered, "Keep calm. Let him fall apart." Christine nodded slowly. She was aware that this was not only about Coyote Pass or custody of Truly. This was Kody's final attempt to rewrite the story, but she would not. In the front row of the gallery, their children were seated. Wenlyn, Pedden, Aspen, McKelty, and Truly, the youngest and most traumatized by the drama. Wenlyn's jaw was set. Pedden tapped the floor with his foot incessantly. Truly stared down at her hands, unsure why her parents were fighting among strangers. Next to them, a line of sister wives fidgeted uncomfortably. Janelle Brown, the perpetual realist, appeared conflicted. She gazed directly in front of her, not noticing Kody or Christine. She had always remained faithful to both, but now she was seeing them bicker over land she had herself contributed to paying for. Mary Brown, the former first wife, sat rigidly at the back of the row. There was suffering in her eyes, but her face remained impassive. She too had been betrayed. She too had felt isolation. Robin Brown, Kody's sole remaining wife, sat with hand clamped over her mouth, clearly shaken. But whether it was for Kody or the glare, no one could possibly know. The judge slammed the gavel. The civil case of Brown v. Brown.
Kody Brown.
Christine Brown. Allegations of land fraud, breach of verbal contract, and unauthorized relocation of custody will be heard by this court now. There was a silent gasp in the room. Cameras snapped. Pens zoomed across notepads. Christine's face was set, but tears shone in her eyes. Angela stood and spoke to the court. "Your Honor, we will establish that this is not a case of neglect or fraud. This is a case of emotional manipulation. A former partner trying to punish a woman for choosing freedom over silence." Kody's attorney smiled. "She chose devastation." He grumbled. The judge arched a brow. "Let's have opening statements then. Mr. Brown, you may start." Kody rose from his chair, ironing out the wrinkles in his blazer with intense deliberation. "This woman," he started, "was never legally wedded to me. But we shared a spiritual commitment, a family. And within our family, we shared land, hopes, and children. When Christine departed, she not only abandoned that life, she sold her portion of Coyote Pass in secret. Then she relocated Truly out of state without my permission. That was my daughter, my land, my legacy." He paused for effect, allowing the words to settle as dust after rain. Christine remained unmoved. Her heart pounded, but her soul didn't break. This was the courtroom where history would fight truth, where legacy would crash against justice, and where the world would see at last the price of silence within a family founded on lies. The judge turned his gaze toward Christine. "Miss Brown, your answer?" Angela stood again. "Christine Brown will testify that she invested her life, emotionally, financially, physically, into a dream that never included her in reality. She will show evidence that her departure was a necessity, not a betrayal, and that her decisions were rooted in protection, not theft." The judge nodded. Very well. We'll begin witness testimony in the next session. Court is adjourned for a brief recess. As the gavel came down, Christine took a quiet breath. Whispers swirled around her again, but in her heart, she knew this was not only a land trial. This was a land trial about love, deception, and what was most loyal, and she was prepared to testify. The judge came back after recess, face set and intent. We will now hear witness testimony. Plaintiff may call their first witness. Kody did not hesitate. Call Robin Brown to the stand. Christine's face didn't alter, but her knuckles turned white as she clasped her hands together. In the audience, Janelle let out a gasp. Mary averted her eyes. Robin strode confidently to the stand, wearing a traditional navy blue blouse and a silver cross necklace. She maintained her poise, but her eyes were glassy as she sat, raised her hand, and swore in. Mrs. Brown, Kody's lawyer started. Can you tell the court what Christine's leaving did to your family and your future? Robin nodded gravely. Christine leaving wasn't a matter of abandoning Kody. It was a rejection of us. All of us. A rejection of the family we worked so hard to create. We were to build Coyote Pass as a family. Leave our children a legacy. She sold her share without even talking to the rest of us. She just left like it didn't matter. She glared at Christine. It was betrayal. Christine's jaw ground together, but she didn't look away. This was the tale the world had witnessed. Robin wounded and left behind. But Christine knew what hid beneath. Robin went on, her voice shaking. She took truly without permission. Kody didn't even know she'd relocated to Utah until afterward. He didn't receive a goodbye, just silence. Christine leaned forward and whispered to her lawyer, "Get her to tell us why Kody wasn't home to say goodbye." Angela nodded. During the defense's chance to cross-examine, she stood relaxed. "Mrs. Brown, you said in your testimony that the family had been rejected by Christine. But isn't it correct that during the last 2 years they were together, Kody spent virtually all of his time in your home?" Robin shifted because Angela cut in. "A yes or no will suffice." Robin reluctantly nodded. "Yes." "And between that time, did Christine get equal time, equal love, or equal support from Kody?" "No," Robin admitted. "Softer now." "And do you remember any discussions wherein Christine requested that Coyote Pass plans be discussed only to have those meetings canceled, put off, or disregarded?" "And I wasn't privy to all those meetings." Robin spoke cautiously. "Is it possible?" Angela turned back to the judge that Christine was left out, not defiant, that she was dismissed, not wreaking havoc. Robin remained silent. Angela made the dagger wound. "And lastly, Mrs. Brown, if Kody was so heartbroken about Trully's move, can you tell us when before Christine left he'd spent an entire weekend with his daughter by himself?" There was quiet. Even the judge hesitated.
Robin buried her face. "I don't know." Angela nodded and took her seat. No further questions. Kody shifted uncomfortably in his seat, obviously seething. His best supporter had just been opened up on the stand, but the worst of it wasn't over yet. Christine Brown walked toward the witness stand, with quiet determination, her heels clicking softly on the courtroom floor. Her face was serene, but her heart pounded beneath her blouse. 25 years of quiet. 25 years of giving up. Now, for the first time, the truth would be hers to tell, not scripted for television, not filtered through Kody, not edited by TLC. She lifted her right hand and swore. Then she sat down. Her lawyer came forward slowly. "Mrs. Brown, will you explain to the court why you departed?" Christine stared straight in front of her. "Because I was invisible." Gasps swept through the gallery. She went on, voice calm. "I gave everything to that family. I homeschooled 13 children, most of them not even mine. I worked, cleaned, cooked, homeschooled. I remained quiet while Kody disregarded me. I swallowed my hurt so the dream wouldn't shatter." A tear made its way down her face. "But the dream did shatter. And nobody cared that I was still standing amongst the debris." She addressed her gaze to Kody. "You quit coming home, Kody. You quit showing up. When Robin came along, everything changed. You said you were finished with intimacy. You said love needed to be earned. I spent 25 years earning it, and it wasn't enough. Kody averted eyes. Christine's lawyer spoke up. Christine, what about Coyote Pass? Did you ever receive a written contract regarding your portion of the property? Christine shook her head. No, just words, vows, nothing tangible. And were you informed that the property was to be divided equally? Yes, by Kody on and off camera. But then when I wanted to sell my half, suddenly I was evil. Did you benefit from the sale? No, I spent it to support my children, to relocate truly to a stable place. I wasn't looking to hurt somebody. I was looking to survive. Angela nodded. Now let's discuss truly. Why did you relocate her without Kody's permission? Christine took a deep breath. Because I couldn't wait anymore. Truly was getting ill. Emotionally, physically. Kody didn't visit. He didn't call. He didn't even ask how she was doing. She cried herself to sleep thinking, why does my dad love Robin's kids more than me? The courtroom fell silent. I didn't take her out of spite. I took her out of protection. Truly covered her face from the gallery, and softly wept. Gwendolyn put an arm around her. Angela glanced at the judge. No further questions, Your Honor. The judge addressed Kody's attorney. Cross-examination. He stood rigidly. Christine, wouldn't you agree that a verbal agreement is still binding in a family based on trust? Christine didn't flinch. Not when that trust has been broken time and time again. And did you discuss this with the other wives prior to selling your share of the property? Christine cocked her head ever so slightly. Did Kody discuss this with me prior to spending the bulk of his time at Robin's? Did he discuss this with me prior to determining that I was no longer deserving of affection? The lawyer stuttered. That's not. The judge raised a hand. She's responding to your question. Christine tucked her hands into each other. I did what I had to do. For my children, for my dignity. The lawyer took a step back. And at that moment, the courtroom wasn't merely hearing them. They were believing her. Even Janelle, who was in the gallery, swiped away a tear, just as the courtroom settled down after Christine's strong testimony. Christine's attorney stood up again. Your Honor, the defense would like to call a rebuttal witness. Gwendolyn Brown. Kody jolted upright. His face went white, then burned hot with rage. Christine gasped in horror. Gwendolyn rose slowly from the public gallery, her imposing height unmoving, her face unyielding. She strode towards the witness stand with quiet rebellion. Truly watched her sister with amazement. Janelle nodded infinitesimally in support. Robin braced herself. Having taken the oath, Gwendolyn fixed the judge with a look. Miss Brown, Angela started softly. How would you characterize the relationship between your parents during the last years of their spiritual marriage? Gwendolyn didn't blink. Dead. The courtroom was suddenly silent. There was no love anymore, she went on. There was hardly any communication. Kody spent every moment with Robin. We all witnessed it. He'd drop by once a week, perhaps, and pretend like he was doing us a favor. Christine felt lonely. We felt lonely. She looked at her father. But she remained. For us. She gave us everything. And what did she receive in return? Silence. Angela nodded. And what of Truly's relocation to Utah? How did that occur? Gwendolyn sighed. Truly was becoming ill with stress. Headaches, nighttime crying, shutting down at school. Mom pleaded with Dad to intervene. And he didn't. She didn't take Truly to punish him. She took her because no one else would. Kody's attorney objected. Hearsay. The judge overruled. This witness lived in the household. Let her testify. Gwendolyn leaned forward. You want to discuss betrayal? Let's discuss birthdays missed. Graduations skipped. Family meetings cancelled. You weren't there, Dad. Not for me. Not for Truly. Not for anyone beyond Robin's door. Kody's jaw clenched. Robin put out a hand to his arm, but he moved away. Angela stepped forward one final time. Gwendolyn, why did you decide to testify? Because I've seen Mom cry herself to sleep. I've watched her carry this family without help. And I've heard people, including my own father, call her selfish. She's not. She's a survivor. The judge turned toward Kody's table. Would the plaintiff like to cross-examine? Kody stood as if to do it himself. But Robin whispered something to him. He sat back down. No questions, Your Honor, his lawyer said stiffly. Gwendolyn stepped off the stand and back into her seat next to Truly, who wrapped her arms around her. Christine was fighting back tears. The courtroom, in that moment, could see it plain. This wasn't about land, or law. It was about a woman who had been carrying all the burdens of everyone else, and finally laying them down, and her children were standing beside her. The courtroom had descended into a thick silence. Following Gwendolyn's blistering testimony, no one could glance at Kody the same anymore. Even the once idolizing fans now whispered among themselves, foreheads creased, disturbed by the reality. The judge leaned back in his chair, visibly upset by what he had witnessed, not merely legally, but ethically. "These court will now resume session for judgment in the case of Brown v. Brown," he announced. Christine clutched the table edge. Next to her, Kody sat stiff. Robin leaned forward, mumbling something under her breath, but he didn't react. He no longer controlled the story, and he was aware of it. The judge cleared his throat, having heard testimony from each side, including household children and the co-wives present in court today. "I have made a decision." He hesitated. "Having considered this matter, the court holds that no legally enforceable contract of shared ownership of the Coyote Pass property in the name of Christine Brown, nor any written contract limiting her from conveying her interest existed." Kody scowled, arms crossed. Robin welled up with tears. The judge went on, "But the emotional and economic input Christine made to the property, and the fact that she has been a parent and partner for more than 20 years, cannot be discounted. She might not have signed her name on a deed, but she put her blood, sweat, and time all over that ground." Christine's eyes welled up, but she remained calm. As to the custody relocation, the judge stated, "The court sees no indication of ill will. Indeed, the testimony conclusively establishes that Christine acted in the best interest of Truly following extended emotional absence by the father." Gasps filled the room. Kody's expression turned bitter. Christine glanced over at Truly, who smiled through tears. The judge's tone grew stern. Said the court, "This case is dismissed in favor of the defendant, Christine Brown. All allegations of land fraud and unauthorized relocation are hereby dismissed. The plaintiff is encouraged to pursue personal healing, as opposed to legal recourse." And then, the gavel came down. Bang. It was over that fast. Christine hugged Angela tight, and breathed out a sigh that seemed to have been held in her chest for decades. The room broke into whispers, tears, and stunned quiet. Kody jumped up, thumping his chair back. "This is no justice," he growled. "This is a circus." The judge glared at him. "Mr. Brown, you can leave the courtroom, but you might want to do that with some dignity." Janelle rose and walked quietly out of the gallery. Mary did the same, a few moments later, looking down. But Robin remained seated, immobile, as Kody strode out. Christine slowly collected her belongings. Centering herself, Truly sprinted to her. Gwendolyn tagged along. Immediately they enveloped their mom like a protective shield. "You did it, Mom," Gwendolyn breathed. "You lied." "I was able to finally," Christine answered, voice trembling. Without interruption, the cameras outside descended. News reporters shouted her name. TLC staff nodded in silence, already thinking about how the scene would play out on TV, but Christine didn't care about any of it. For the first time in decades, she wasn't a supporting character in someone else's story. She was the central voice, the central heart, the central truth, and she had been heard.